What if Lionel Richie's biggest hits were the soundtrack to a serial killer's spree? My name is Piece of Cake and I am bewildered. I have just got off the kickoff meeting for this project and had my first interactions with both the producer, who will be keeping me on task, and the studio head in charge of setting the scope and vision. In typical corporate style, things have changed already. Not all things, but some things. Let's talk about what is the same. We still need to produce 10 episodes. Everything else? Okay, not everything, but a lot. They like the idea of LOK, but they are now afraid about what permissions they would need and how much they would need to spend to get licenses for videos, music, etc. I do not consider it a good sign they are already penny pinching this project, but we carry on regardless. They also, for synergy, floated the idea that Lionel Richie should be replaced by a made-up musician so they can create a fake real band, a real fake band, and then make money from the music as well. As an aside, you could tell the suit was nervous about pitching this idea, clearly used to sensitive writers, and was visibly surprised when I went along with it, and then shocked when I did a fake artistic outrage bit, then laughed when he realized I was joking. The producer, meanwhile, just stared blankly and took notes. It was a little scary. Losing the Lionel Richie part of the Lionel Richie killer on the face of it is a pretty drastic move. We now have the killer. Not exactly punchy or original. I do believe sticking to the original idea is the easiest way to encourage people in. I honestly believe it is a good title that if people saw it would get them intrigued. We also lose a lot of the free style we can take from the music videos that already exist. There are probably more bad things I will think of later, but let's move to the good, shall we? One of the limiting factors of LOK was sticking to LOK videos. In some ways it was great, as it meant I needed to get creative with the murder scenes, the music videos being the catalyst. If we start from scratch, that limit is removed. Murder scenes can be written first, with the music videos coming after, or vice versa, or a mix of both. The band being part of the show means they can become a bigger part of the show. There is, or never was, never any real reason to get Lionel Richie to appear in LOK unless the story went that way. What that means is if Mr. Richie said no, a story avenue was cut off just for that reason. It makes it a lot easier to involve the band as suspects, victims even. On a personal note, I kind of like the idea of working with some up-and-coming musical act on songs, videos, and throwing stuff out of hotel windows. Of course, now it has to be small stuff you can fit through the tiny gaps they allow you to open, but hey, it still counts. As with the bad, I'm sure there are more good points beyond the suit's financial and legal worries that I will think of later, but let's move on, shall we? At this stage of the meeting, the suit left, leaving me alone with the producer who, up until this stage, had nodded hello and said nothing. They had stared at me icily through Zoom, taking notes every so often. Was it possible for someone to murder over Zoom? Is that a better pitch idea than LRK? With the suit off the call, their demeanor changed almost instantly. The icy stare was replaced with a warm smile, and words spilled out of them at a mile a minute. I still have not quite placed the accent, but it is some kind of Nordic European? Swedish, maybe? After learning all about their job, other projects, and people they have worked with, quite a list by the way, how they hated their ex-husband and loved their 2 dogs, they finally came round to the original script of LRK. They did not mince words. A weaker man would have cried on the call, but I managed to stave off any tears until after the call ended. Honestly, having your work so expertly dissected was an experience. It wasn't dismissive or just to be cruel or even ambivalent, which I'm very used to. It was with a purpose. It was also animated, with the producer slipping into voices at various times. Their English accent was hilariously awful. The important thing was I realized this was not someone who would hold back or walk on eggshells, and I showed them I would fight when needed, take advice, and they would let me laugh at their acting skills. This was someone I could work with. If you remember from the previous update, I made 2 rough pitches for how the series could go, cop show or family mystery. We discussed both at length, the pros and cons of each, and neither of us could decide which way was the best way to go. The main questions we both have are around the more personal side of character growth and how much I should bring into a series like this. The psychological effects are an obvious candidate, but do we bring in stresses or danger added to loved ones? We did decide on a few points for both versions though. 1. There must be at least 2 people investigating the mystery. This is both for easy storytelling, Watson explaining the brilliance of Sherlock, and character chemistry. 2. We will never hide from the audience. This is a harder one to explain, but in short, we are building a mystery and I want the audience to be putting it together themselves. So no last minute revelations from the detectives that the audience has never known anything about. I hate it when shows do that. 3. The killer must have a deep and understandable reason for their actions. Yes, the person will likely be mad, but within their madness must lie a motive. 4. There will be no ducks in this series. In the end, I've been asked to provide an outline for both ideas by the end of May, largely ignoring the specifics of the crimes. We all need to say X happened, but leave it open as if we slide Lionel Richie in or make up our own band. That should keep me busy. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you all when I see you all. Also, even if we do lose LR from LRK, I'm not changing the intro to these videos.